Grant tapped his wine glass with the handle of his steak knife. "At least admit you've lived off me for years," he said. "Dana has the records. I invited everyone here because I'm tired of being made to feel guilty for supporting my own wife." His mother smiled into her wine. Dana Bell looked as if she would rather crawl under our dining table than open her laptop, but Grant nodded at her. "Go ahead, show her." I said nothing. Dana entered the password, opened our household ledger, and turned the screen toward him. The first property tax payment appeared under my name. It was $6,842.17, paid to the county 3 years earlier from an account funded by my consulting income. The property address belonged to Lorraine. Grant stopped smiling. I looked at my husband and wondered how long he had been preparing to humiliate me with evidence that actually belonged to me. Lorraine recovered first. "Well, that's one payment." Dana kept her fingers above the keyboard. "It's the first one in this file." "The first of what?" I asked. Grant lifted his napkin and wiped a perfectly clean corner of his mouth. "Mara, don't turn this into something." That was how he spoke when he wanted me to doubt the shape of a thing I could see. Around the table, dinner cooled on Lorraine's white serving platters. She had used our kitchen that afternoon without asking, moving my coffee maker to make room for a warming tray and stuffing my grocery list behind the toaster. Paula, her younger sister, sat with both hands around her water glass. Across from her were Leon Mercer and Tessa Ward, Grant's business partners, who had arrived believing this was a dinner about the company's 10th anniversary. Dana had believed the same thing until 20 minutes earlier. I looked at the ledger again. Why were my earnings paying your mother's property taxes? "They weren't your earnings," Grant said. "Not in the way you're making it sound." Tessa lowered her fork. Lorraine gave a small laugh. "Oh, for heaven's sake, married people help family." "I know." I kept my eyes on Grant. "That's why I agreed to help once." Lorraine's smile thinned. 3 years earlier, after a storm damaged part of her roof, she had discovered that her property tax escrow was short. Grant asked if we could cover the bill until her insurance claim and a certificate of deposit were sorted out. At the time, his company had 2 delayed commercial payments and barely enough cash for payroll. My consulting account had the money. We wrote the check at our kitchen island. Lorraine cried, hugged me, and promised to repay us by Christmas. I never asked her for it. I did not know there had been another payment. Dana clicked the next line, $7,106.44. The following year, my name appeared in the authorization field. Paula turned to Lorraine. "You said the roof money was settled." "It was settled." "With whose money?" "Does this really need to happen over dinner?" Lorraine asked. Grant leaned toward Dana. "You're in the wrong ledger." "I'm in Household Consolidated, which is the file you told me to open." "I meant the contribution summary." "You said to show everyone the truth," Leon said quietly. Grant looked at him. Leon was usually the easiest person in a room, a broad man who carried peppermints in his jacket and could turn a supplier dispute into lunch. Now he peeled the wrapper from one of those peppermints without eating it. "This is a marital discussion," Grant said. "You invited us," Tessa reminded him. He glanced at his mother. For 1 second, I saw something pass between them, not panic exactly, but recognition. They had discussed this dinner. Maybe not the numbers, but the purpose. Lorraine set down her fork. "We're getting distracted from the actual issue. I almost admired her. A fire could begin in her lap and she would complain about the draft. The actual issue," she continued, "is that my house needs substantial repairs. Grant offered me the downstairs room for a few weeks, and Mara has decided to make me feel unwelcome in my own son's home." I turned to Grant. "You offered her my office?" "It's not just your office. It's our downstairs room. It has my client files in it, which can be moved." "To where?" "The garage is dry," Lorraine said. Paula shut her eyes briefly. "My office occupied the back room behind the kitchen. It had French doors, 2 battered file cabinets, and a long desk Grant built for me when we first moved in. That desk was where I reviewed his early bids, corrected material quantities, found missing labor costs, and called vendors after he had charmed them into agreements no one had written down. It was also where I worked for 12 consulting clients who paid me for doing the same sort of unglamorous rescue work. Lorraine had already measured it. That morning, I found a yellow tape measure coiled on my desk beside a furniture catalog open to a sleeper sofa. When I asked Grant, he said his mother was thinking through options. He had not told me she planned to move in. He waited until dinner, after she had served rosemary chicken and opened 2 bottles of wine, to present the decision as a favor already granted. When I objected, Lorraine said, "Some people don't understand what family obligation looks like." Then Grant said I had lived off him for years. Dana closed one spreadsheet and opened another. "There are 3 county payments associated with Lorraine's address." "Dana," Grant warned. She asked me a direct question. The 3rd payment was the largest, $7,491.03 paid 10 months earlier. My authorization again. I stared at the date. I remembered that week. Grant had been in Richmond bidding on a hotel renovation. Dana's assistant sent me a batch of household obligations to approve. Our quarterly estimated taxes, insurance, the property tax reserve, utilities on automatic reconciliation. I approved them from my desk while eating yogurt over the keyboard. The line in the batch had been labeled ER Property Reserve. Eleanor Rose was Lorraine's full name. "I thought ER meant Emergency Reserve," I said. Dana's face changed. It was slight, a tightening around her mouth. Grant rubbed his thumb over the stem of his glass. "That's what we call that category." "No," Dana said. "And we call the emergency reserve HH-09. He turned to her. "Since when?" "Since I created the accounts." Lorraine pushed her chair back an inch. "Mara signed the payments. You can't accuse Grant of hiding something you approved." "I'm not accusing him." I could hear my pulse in my right ear. "I'm asking him." Grant gave me the look he used when a subcontractor became emotional in a meeting. Calm, patient, faintly injured. "You knew we were helping Mom." "I knew about one check. We discussed ongoing support." "When?" "More than once." "Name one time." "Mara, I don't record our conversations." "Apparently Dana does." Tessa made a sound that might have been a cough. For one reckless second, I wanted to laugh. The absurdity of it pressed against my ribs. The rosemary chicken, the audience, Lorraine's catalog on my desk, Grant demanding documentation of my dependents, and uncovering his mother's tax bill instead. But Dana still had her laptop open, and 3 payments glowed between us. Nearly $22,000. My anger could wait. I needed to understand whether I had been careless, deceived, or both. "Where did the money come from?" I asked Dana. The first 2 payments cleared from the consulting account before the household sweep. The 3rd cleared after a transfer from that account into joint checking. "So mine," I said. Grant's chair scraped the floor. "Ours. When you wanted me to authorize it. We're married. And when you wanted to tell a table full of people I lived off you." His face reddened from the collar upward. I had seen Grant furious but rarely cornered. Fury made him loud. Being cornered made him precise. "My income paid the mortgage," he said. "My company paid for the health plan. My work built the equity in this house. You bring in money when you feel like taking clients, then you act as if reviewing a few estimates means you built a business." Leon put the peppermint down. I looked at the man who used to bring me gas station coffee at midnight because I was fixing his payroll. He remembered exactly how I took it. 1 cream, no sugar, even after he began forgetting to tell people I had done the work. Lorraine touched his wrist. Not to stop him, to steady him. There it was, the deeper thing. He had not lost his temper and accidentally insulted me. He had seated witnesses around our table, placed Dana within reach of the records, and planned to reduce our marriage to what he could claim he bought. He had done it because his mother wanted my room, and I had said no. Dana lowered the laptop screen halfway. "I think we should pause." "No, Grant said. "We're finishing this." "We are," I said, standing. "Just not with an audience." Lorraine's gaze followed me. "Walking away doesn't change what you owe this family." I picked up my plate and carried it to the kitchen because some habits survive even the moment they become ridiculous. At the sink, I scraped untouched chicken into the trash. Behind me, chairs shifted and voices dropped. Grant came in carrying nothing. "You made me look like an ass," he said. I rinsed rosemary from my plate. "You invited everyone to watch." "I was trying to settle this before Mom's contractors start." "They're not starting here. It's 3 weeks. You gave her a room you don't use and don't clean, so I suppose it looked empty to you. You have a desk and some file cabinets. I have a business. So do I, one that pays for this house." I shut off the faucet. "Which one of us decided tonight was about numbers?" His jaw worked. In the dining room, Lorraine was telling Paula that the chicken would dry out if it sat much longer. Dana murmured something to Tessa. Plates clinked with the cautious politeness of people trapped inside someone else's worst evening. Grant stepped closer. "Mom's bathroom floor has to come up. There may be mold." "Then help her find a rental." "She doesn't want to stay alone in a rental." "She won't be alone. She'll have her key." His eyes flicked toward the front hall. It was quick, but I saw it. The green glass bowl sat on the narrow table beside the door. We bought it during our first year together at a flea market outside Asheville. The vendor called it depression glass. Grant whispered that the bowl looked too cheerful to be depressed, and I laughed so hard I bought it with grocery money. Every home we shared, the bowl went by the door. Keys, loose coins, one of Grant's cufflinks, the occasional bent nail he emptied from his pocket. 6 months earlier, Lorraine's key had appeared in it for the first time. I came home from a client meeting and found her standing barefoot in our kitchen, making soup. She said Grant gave her a spare for emergencies. The next week, she used it to leave folded towels on our bed, then to meet a delivery, then to replace the curtains in the downstairs bathroom because mine made the room look apologetic. Every time I moved her key out of the bowl, Grant put it back. I dried my hands and walked to the hall. My key was there. Grant's was there. A brass tag from the company storage unit lay underneath 2 quarters. Lorraine's key was gone. "What did she do with it?" I asked. Grant remained in the kitchen doorway. "Do with what?" "Her key. She probably has it in her purse. She usually leaves it here when she's in the house. So now you're monitoring where my mother keeps keys?" I lifted the bowl. Under the coins was a pale scratch in the glass, fresh enough to catch the light. The front door opened. Leon and Tessa said a strained goodnight. Paula followed after, hugging Lorraine with one arm and whispering something that made Lorraine pull away. Dana packed slowly, her laptop held against her chest. At the door, she looked at me. "Call me tomorrow." Grant heard her. "About what?" Dana's expression returned to its professional stillness. "About her consulting accounts." Lorraine emerged with my largest food storage container full of chicken. "I hope everyone's satisfied." I set the glass bowl back on the table. "Are your contractors coming here tomorrow?" Her hand tightened around the container. "They're bringing a few things that need to be protected from dust." "What things?" "Linens. Some personal boxes." "No furniture?" She looked past me at Grant. He sighed. "The adjustable bed is being delivered between 10 and 2. I waited for him to add that he had forgotten to mention it. He didn't bother. Lorraine opened the door with her own key already in her hand. A new key, bright silver, with a blue plastic cap. Not the brass spare Grant had shown me months earlier. I watched her tuck it into her purse. After she left, I turned the deadbolt. Grant began stacking plates, making enough noise to suggest he had been abandoned with the labor of an entire household. "Did you have another copy made?" I asked. "It's a key, Mara." "To my house. Our house." "Did you?" He carried the plates into the kitchen. "Mom loses things." The answer sat between his words. More than one copy then. Maybe one for Lorraine's purse and one for a contractor. maybe another already attached to the zipper of a suitcase waiting in her hall. I picked up the green bowl again. In the dining room, Dana had left a printed contribution summary beside Grant's wine glass. His salary occupied the first column. My consulting income occupied the second. At the bottom, in small gray type, was a note I had never seen. Non-business family support excluded from contribution calculations. Below it were 3 initials: G.A.W. Grant, Alexander Whitaker. He had not simply forgotten the money I earned. He had instructed Dana not to count where some of it went. I carried the page into the kitchen. What does this note mean? Grant glanced at it while running water over a serving platter. It means exactly what it says. You told Dana to exclude family support from the contribution calculations. Because it isn't income, it came out of my income. He shut off the water. You keep saying mine as if you've been hiding gold bars under the mattress. That account feeds into the household. Then it should count when you calculate what I put into the household. This summary was about predictable cash flow. Your consulting fluctuates. The taxes didn't. He put the platter into the drying rack with its clean side against a dirty pan. I turned it around automatically, then hated myself for noticing. You asked Dana to make this, didn't you? I said. We've been discussing Mom's situation. How long? A few weeks. And you wanted proof that you could give away my office because you paid for the house. I wanted you to see the bigger picture. Why did Leon and Tessa need to see it? They didn't. They were already invited. So was Dana. She handles our books. And Paula? He pulled the stopper from the sink. Gray water spiraled around bits of rosemary. Mom wanted support. That answer was honest enough to hurt. Grant had expected the table to divide along familiar lines. Lorraine and Paula would represent family. Leon and Tessa would represent the business he claimed supported me. Dana would represent numbers. I would be alone at the end of the table with nowhere respectable to stand. What did you expect me to do after you proved it? I asked. Stop fighting every reasonable thing my mother asks for. There are sentences that break something because they are cruel, and others that break it because they reveal how long the breaking has already been underway. I placed the contribution summary on the counter. The bed isn't coming into my office. It's already paid for. Cancel it. There's a restocking fee. Take it out of the money you saved by having me pay Lorraine's taxes. He stared at me. You're enjoying this now. I left him with the dishes. In the bedroom, I locked the door, something neither of us had ever done during an argument. Grant tried the handle once. He did not knock. 10 minutes later, the television came on downstairs. I sat on the edge of the bed with my laptop and logged into my consulting account. The available balance looked ordinary. Mortgage sweep, utilities, software subscriptions, deposits from 2 clients. Nothing on the screen resembled betrayal. It was all dates, abbreviations, and amounts, small decisions disguised as plumbing. I downloaded 3 years of statements. At 1 a.m, I found payments I recognized because I had arranged them. Lorraine's plumber, Lorraine's tree removal, a new compressor for her air conditioner. She had paid some of those back. Others Grant had called birthday gifts or early Christmas. There were grocery deliveries during her recovery from wrist surgery and a 6-month membership at a wellness center she stopped using after 2 visits. Individually, every expense had a story. Together, they looked like a second household. My own expenses had stories, too. The health plan came through Grant's company because the group rate was better. Our mortgage payments came from joint checking, fed by his salary and my irregular transfers. He paid more during 2 lean consulting years. I paid more during the company's slowest winter. Marriage had made the edges deliberately blurry. Grant had sharpened only the edges that favored him. At 7, I woke to the front door opening. I came downstairs in yesterday's sweater and found Lorraine placing her purse beside the green bowl. Her blue-capped key remained in the lock. You can't come in like this, I said. She turned, one hand still on the door. Grant told me to be here before the delivery. Grant isn't awake. He left 20 minutes ago. I looked through the front window. His truck was gone. Lorraine removed her key and closed the door. She wore cream slacks and a navy cardigan, clothes selected for supervising other people. "We don't have to make this uglier than it already is. You came into my house while I was asleep." "I used a key my son gave me." "I didn't." Her mouth tightened. "You knew I had one." "I knew you had a brass spare for emergencies. That's a new copy." "So this is about the color?" "It's about you knowing exactly what I'm asking and pretending I'm too petty to ask it." For a moment, the performance dropped. Lorraine looked tired. Not wounded or fragile, just tired in the ordinary way of someone facing torn-up floors, money trouble, and a daughter-in-law who had finally stopped making those problems easier. Then she picked up her purse. "The bathroom smells damp all the time now," she said. "The contractor showed me black along the subfloor. I can't stay there while they remove it." "I'm not asking you to. You're asking me to live in a hotel, a furnished rental. Grant found you two last night. He found me boxes with furniture in them. You were willing to put my desk in a garage. That room was meant for guests. It was empty until I made it useful. And now that I need it, suddenly it's sacred. It isn't sacred, it's occupied." The doorbell rang. Two delivery men stood outside with sections of an adjustable bed wrapped in quilted moving blankets. Behind their truck, a silver SUV pulled into the driveway. Grant got out carrying coffee. He had gone to Lorraine's favorite cafe. "Great, you're here," he called to the delivery men. "Downstairs room, through the side gate." "No," I said. The younger delivery man looked at his partner. His partner studied the clipboard as if it contained marriage counseling. Grant handed Lorraine a coffee. "Mara, don't do this in the driveway. You ordered a bed for my office. We talked about it. You told me at dinner after it was ordered." Lorraine took the lid off her coffee and checked the foam. "It'll only take them 20 minutes. The older delivery man cleared his throat. "Sir, we can bring it back, but there's a second delivery charge." Grant looked at me, banking on my lifelong hatred of wasting money. I opened the door wider. "You can put it in the garage." "My mattress cannot be in a garage," Lorraine said. "It's dry." One of the delivery men coughed into his fist. Grant's eyes narrowed. "Fine. The living room." I had not expected him to say that. The bed came through the front door in 6 bulky pieces. Lorraine stood by the green bowl while the men maneuvered around the staircase and assembled it beneath the windows where our sofa had been. Grant and I carried the sofa into the dining room, wedging it behind 2 chairs. By 9, the house looked as though a furniture store had suffered a nervous breakdown. Lorraine stared at the bed. "I can't sleep in the living room." "Then don't," I said. Grant signed the delivery slip hard enough to tear the top copy. Dana's office occupied the 2nd floor above a dentist, with frosted glass doors and a waiting room that always smelled faintly of mint. I arrived carrying the contribution summary in a folder. She had already poured 2 coffees. "I didn't sleep," she said. "Neither did I." "That wasn't professional of me last night." "Which part?" "Opening the household ledger in front of dinner guests. Grant told you to." I still opened it. I set the page between us. "Did he tell you to exclude Lorraine's support?" Dana took off her glasses. "He asked for a summary of household contributions based on recurring income and direct household expenses. He said support for extended family should be excluded because it was discretionary." "Did you know the support came from my account?" "I knew the payments cleared through it. I didn't know you thought ER meant emergency reserve. Why would you use initials instead of her name?" "Grant requested privacy in case an assistant worked in the file." I laughed once. "Privacy from whom?" Dana did not answer. She opened her laptop and pulled up the authorization batches. The first property tax payment had been clear. Lorraine's full name and address appeared on the check request I signed at the kitchen island. The second was labeled ER Annual Property Obligation. Dana's assistant had attached the county invoice, but the attachment sat behind a collapsed menu I had not opened. The third was the emergency reserve line. "Did Grant rename that?" I asked. The original entry came from his office. Can you tell who entered it? The batch was emailed by Grant. I can tell you that much. It was not fraud. I had authorized the payments. The money had moved through joint systems I used and understood. I had simply trusted the description because it came from my husband. That felt worse than discovering a forged signature would have. I want my consulting income deposited into a new individual account, I said. No automatic household sweep. Dana watched me carefully. That will affect joint cash flow. I'll transfer my share of the mortgage and utilities each month. Grant may characterize this as an attempt to deprive the household. He can characterize it while paying his mother's taxes himself. She folded her glasses and unfolded them. I can change my bookkeeping instructions for your business. I can't advise you about the marriage. I'm not asking you to. You're asking me to separate systems that have been integrated for 8 years. That has consequences. I know. I did not know all of them. That was the terrifying part. By noon, the new account existed. Dana removed her assistant's authority to include family expenses in my approval batches. I signed a written instruction stating that no payment connected to Lorraine required my approval unless I received the original invoice and consented separately. My phone rang as I stepped onto the sidewalk. It was a roofing supplier Grant used. I let it ring. A minute later, Leon texted, "Do you have the revised waterproofing estimate for the Trenton job? Grant says it's in review." The estimate was on my laptop. Grant had sent it Sunday night with a message that read, "Can you make sure they didn't sneak in nonsense? Normally, I would have opened it before breakfast, found the nonsense, and sent Grant a clean list before he arrived at work." I typed, "I haven't reviewed it. Please check with Grant." Leon's reply came quickly. "Everything okay?" I looked through Dana's frosted glass door. Her silhouette moved behind it, familiar and unreadable. "Yes," I wrote, "just clarifying roles." At home, Lorraine's suitcases stood beside the adjustable bed. The green bowl had been moved from the hall table to the dining room sideboard to make space for one of her flower arrangements. I picked it up and returned it to its place. Lorraine came out of my office carrying a stack of client folders. "What are you doing?" "Making room in the cabinet." I took the folders from her. "You don't touch these." They were sitting out. They were inside a closed drawer. Grant said the bottom 2 drawers could be cleared. Grant doesn't know what's in them. She looked at the names on the folder tabs. "You certainly have plenty of paperwork for 12 clients." I held the stack against my chest. "How many keys did he make?" "What?" "Copies of our house key." Her gaze shifted to the bowl. "2, she said. "1 for me and 1 for the contractor in case I'm not here." The calm inside me became very still. "Get his copy back. He needs access to your house. Some of my things are here now. That doesn't give him access to mine." She lifted her chin. "You've become territorial over things Grant paid for." I walked past her and locked my office. The key was old, thin, and mostly decorative, but the latch caught. My phone buzzed. Grant's name filled the screen. When I answered, he did not say hello. "What did you tell Dana?" "That family expenses require my approval. You emptied the consulting account. I moved my income. The mortgage draft hits Friday. My half will be there Thursday." "Your half?" He repeated it with disgust. "Is that what we are now?" "You made a contribution summary? I was trying to get through to you. You did." A pause opened between us. Behind him, I heard voices from the office, then a door closing. "You want separate?" he said. "We can make it separate." My laptop chimed on the desk. I opened it while he was still on the phone and tried to access Grant's company folder. The password failed. I tried again, slower. Access denied. "You changed the login." "You said to clarify roles. The Trenton estimate is due." "My business," Grant said. "My problem." He hung up. A moment later, Leon's name appeared on my screen again. "Grant says you're no longer consulting for us. Is that true?" Before I could answer, Lorraine knocked once on my locked office door and tried the handle. "Mara?" Lorraine said. "This is childish." I typed one word to Leon. Apparently. Lorraine knocked again. I need to put my jewelry somewhere secure. There's a safe in your house. My house is full of workers. Then give it to Paula. She stood outside long enough for me to hear her breathing. Grant warned me you might become vindictive. I opened the door. She had already changed into the pale blue slippers she kept at our house. Behind her, one suitcase lay open across the adjustable bed. Her clothes hung from a portable rack positioned in front of our living room windows. She had been inside the house for less than 4 hours and had already made my closed door the offense. Vindictive would be putting your jewelry in the garage, I said. I'm working. You were staring at your phone. You opened a closed file cabinet. I was trying to help. That sentence has done enough damage around here. I closed the door again and turned the key. The Trenton estimate remained on my laptop, but without access to Grant's company folder, I could not compare it with the architect's latest specifications. I could have called Leon, explained where the supplier had inflated the membrane quantities, and spared the company a mistake I knew was sitting there. Instead, I opened my own client calendar. At 10:30, I met with a restaurant owner whose manager had been coding equipment repairs as food costs. At 1, I reconciled 6 months of invoices for a physical therapist expanding her practice. At 4, I called my software provider and separated my subscription from Grant's company license. The work steadied me. It also showed me how much of my day had never belonged to me. Grant came home after 7. He found me at the dining table because Lorraine's clothing rack blocked the good light in the living room, and she had spent the afternoon watching television from the adjustable bed. He dropped his keys into the green bowl. You let the Trenton estimate sit. You removed my access. You had it before I changed the password. I hadn't reviewed it. The supplier added 11% over the architect's quantities. So you found it? Leon found it after we nearly sent the bid. I kept entering figures. Grant pulled out the chair across from me. Do you understand how bad that would have looked? Yes. And you don't care. I care enough that I reviewed estimates for 7 years without being paid. You benefited when the company benefited. So did your mother, apparently more directly. He leaned back. That's where every conversation goes now. It's been 2 days. You froze the household transfers in less than 12 hours. I redirected my deposits. I didn't freeze anything. Joint checking is short. My mortgage transfer isn't due until Thursday. We don't run this house by your new little schedule. I looked up. Then show me the old schedule. All of it. Lorraine appeared in the kitchen doorway. She had changed into a silk robe, though it was barely 8. Please don't fight because of me. Grant's expression softened at once. It was almost impressive. He could move from contempt to tenderness without crossing the space between us. This isn't because of you, Mom. No, it is. She tied the robe belt. Mara was perfectly happy until I needed somewhere to go. I closed my laptop. Lorraine's lower lip trembled, but her voice stayed firm. She had always been skilled at feeling sincerely injured while advancing. I'm not happy, she continued. I can feel her counting every cup of coffee I drink. I haven't counted anything. There's no coffee. There are beans in the freezer. You know the grinder frightens my wrist. Grant looked at me. You couldn't pick up a can of ground coffee? I had been buying Lorraine's preferred coffee for 5 years because she disliked ours. I had never once considered that a service. It was simply a thing I noticed before anyone had to ask. No, I said. I couldn't. He stared as if I had refused her water. The next morning, Lorraine left an empty prescription bottle beside the green bowl with a note under it. Pick up after 3. Thank you. I moved the bottle onto the adjustable bed. When I returned from a client meeting, it was back beside the bowl. I put it in her purse. At 4, she called Grant. At 4:15, Grant called me. You were going past the pharmacy. I was also going past 3 banks and a hardware store. She needs her medication. She has a car. It makes her drowsy. The medication she hasn't picked up makes her drowsy. He exhaled sharply. I'm in Alexandria. I know. What's happened to you? The question was so close to the right one that I almost answered. Grant arranged a courier. Lorraine told him the fee was outrageous, then left the receipt on the kitchen counter where I would see it. I began making a list, not of money but of motion. Calling the appliance repair company when Lorraine's refrigerator rattled, rescheduling her dental cleaning, remembering Paula's anniversary dinner, returning the shoes Lorraine ordered in 2 sizes, finding the warranty for Grant's drill, sending Leon the insurance certificate before he remembered he needed it. Tiny currents of labor flowed through our days, all of them so ordinary that stopping one made me look mean. Stopping all of them made the house malfunction. On Friday, a bank alert appeared while I was eating lunch in my car. Advance posted $12,500.00. The funds came from our joint home equity line and landed in joint checking. 10 minutes later, $8,000 went to Lorraine's contractor. Another $2,300 went to the furniture company. I called Grant. You moved her expenses onto our credit line. I covered the cash flow gap you created. You borrowed against our house. Our house, he said. Good, we agree on something. I did not consent to an advance. You consented when we opened the line. For renovations here. It isn't restricted. I gripped the steering wheel. Put the money back. Tell Dana to restore the household sweep. There was the counteroffer, clean and simple. My income for his mother's security. My consent traded back to me at interest. No. Then don't lecture me about how I managed the problem you caused. He hung up. The bank could restrict future advances, but only if both borrowers agreed or the line was closed and refinanced. Grant declined the electronic consent request 11 minutes after I sent it. Dana called before I could call her. Grant wants me to revise the contribution summary, she said. Of course he does. He says your consulting deposits should be classified as distributions generated by company referrals. I rested my forehead against the steering wheel. Some of my clients came through people we met through the company. Referrals don't convert revenue into distributions. I know. I told him I won't change the historical classification. Did he ask you to? He asked whether the original entries reflected economic reality. I laughed without humor. Grant loved economic reality when he could commission it in a spreadsheet. What happens now? I asked. I preserve the original records. If he wants a different analysis, it has to sit beside them with the assumptions identified. You sound angry. I don't enjoy being asked to make arithmetic solve a character dispute. That was the closest Dana came to taking a side. When I returned home, Paula's car was in the driveway. She and Lorraine sat at the dining table with tea. Lorraine had moved my client files from one chair to another to make room. Paula nodded toward the empty seat. We need to talk. Those words haven't worked out well for me lately. This won't take long, she said. I remained standing. Paula looked like Lorraine around the eyes, but where Lorraine polished every expression before showing it, Paula's feelings arrived in work clothes. You are punishing my sister for accepting help from her son. I'm separating my money from help I didn't agree to. You agreed to the first payment. Yes, and now you're using it to shame her. Grant invited you to dinner so he could shame me. That was wrong. Lorraine turned. Paula. It was. Paula lifted her cup. But Mara, she cannot live with her bathroom torn apart. There are rentals. I don't want one, Lorraine said. Paula faced her. Want is different. The room shifted slightly. Lorraine set down her cup. You said I shouldn't let her push me out. I said Grant offered you a place and shouldn't withdraw it after the work started. I did not know this was her office. I thought it was a guest room. It was a guest room originally. In 2018. Lorraine flushed. Whose side are you on? I'm trying to find the truth without a laptop at dinner. I sat down. Paula pulled a folded letter from her handbag. Lorraine asked me to look at this. It was a county notice outlining an installment option for the next property tax bill. The monthly amount was uncomfortable, but possible. I am not going on a payment plan like someone who can't manage her affairs, Lorraine said. Then pay it in full, I said. My money is tied up. In what? My house, my car, investments that charge penalties. Paula tapped the letter. You told me the county refused to work with you. They were unhelpful. They gave you 12 months. Grant said the household would handle it. I looked at Lorraine. When? She hesitated. Paula answered. Last spring. Before the third payment. Grant had promised our household would cover a future obligation before I authorized the emergency reserve line he claimed we had discussed. Lorraine gathered the letter. This interrogation is exactly why I didn't tell you. You didn't tell me because I might say no. You're married to my son. He had every right to say yes. To my income? To family money. I understood her then, which was not the same as forgiving her. Lorraine did not divide our marriage into Grant's money and mine. She divided the world into what belonged to Grant and what Grant allowed other people to use. In her mind, my income entered his orbit the moment I earned it. Paula stood. Come stay with me. Lorraine blinked. What? Until your bathroom is done. Your stairs are impossible. You can use the downstairs den. There's no attached bath. There's 6 steps down the hall. Lorraine looked toward the living room, where the adjustable bed sat beneath her clothing rack. I'm already settled. You're camped in the middle of their marriage. Grant invited me. Paula's face softened. That doesn't mean he should have. Lorraine stared at her sister as if she had changed languages. She did not leave with Paula. But after Paula drove away, Lorraine moved her empty prescription bottle from the green bowl without being asked. The victory felt too small to trust. Grant stopped coming home for dinner. He worked late, ate with Lorraine when she ordered takeout, and slept beside me with a careful strip of mattress between us. Twice I woke to him staring at the ceiling. On the third night, he said, She loaned me $8,000 for the first truck. I kept my eyes closed. You paid her back. With interest. Then why are we still paying? She believed in me when no one else did. So did I. You checked spreadsheets. I kept the truck insured when you couldn't make payroll. He turned toward me. You always have to make it equal. No, you have to make me smaller. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, If you restore the account, we can fix this. What does fixing it look like? You stop treating Mom like a trespasser. She stays until the work is done. You help with the company through the end of the Trenton bid. We go back to normal. And the key. She keeps it. I opened my eyes. Grant had offered me my marriage on the condition that nothing in it changed. I'm going to call someone about separating the finances, I said. His face became blank. Then we need a formal accounting first. A calendar invitation arrived the next morning. Household and business contribution review. Grant, Dana, Leon, Tessa, and me. Attached was a revised spreadsheet that counted my health coverage, every mortgage payment from Grant's salary, and the market rent of my office. Lorraine's tax payments did not appear anywhere. At the bottom, Grant had added a final line. Amount owed to GAW, $46,380. I forwarded it to Dana with 6 words. Please bring the original household records. Her reply came 1 minute later. I already planned to. The meeting took place in the company conference room, a glass box Grant had once called proof that we had finally made it. I arrived first. Through the wall, I could see Leon at his desk turning a peppermint wrapper into a tiny silver rope. Tessa stood at the copier with a stack of project reports. Dana set 2 document boxes beside the screen at the end of the table. Grant came in 6 minutes late with Lorraine. Mom is directly affected, he said before anyone asked. Lorraine wore the navy cardigan from dinner. She took the chair beside him and set her blue-capped key on the table next to her phone. Dana looked at me. She should hear it, I said. Grant connected his laptop to the screen. His revised spreadsheet appeared, ending with the claim that I owed him $46,380. This isn't complicated, he began. Mara has decided to separate our finances in the middle of a family emergency. Before she does that, we need an honest accounting of what each of us has contributed. Tessa opened a legal pad. To the marriage or the company? Both are relevant. They're also different, Dana said. Grant ignored her. He walked us through mortgage payments, health premiums, utilities, vehicle insurance, and what he called the fair market cost of my office. He had found a commercial listing for a windowless room above a tire shop and used its monthly rent as the value of the room behind our kitchen. Lorraine watched the numbers accumulate with quiet satisfaction. When Grant finished, he folded his hands. That is the reality. I'm not saying Mara did nothing. I'm saying independence doesn't begin with pretending the last 8 years didn't happen. Dana opened the first document box. I agree, she said. Grant leaned back. That is why the last 8 years need to be included. She distributed a packet to each of us. The first page showed every deposit into our joint household accounts, separated by source rather than by the labels Grant had selected. His salary was larger and steadier. My consulting income rose and fell, sometimes sharply. In 1 year, I had contributed less than half his amount. In another, when 2 company projects stalled, I had contributed more. Over the full period, the difference was nowhere near $46,380. Grant turned the page. This doesn't assign the health premiums correctly. They're assigned according to the company's actual cost, Dana said. Your sheet used the retail value of an individual policy. That's what she would have paid without me. It isn't what you paid. You used market rent for the office, I said. His mouth tightened. Dana moved to the next page. If the analysis uses actual cost, it has to use actual cost consistently. If it uses hypothetical market value, it has to apply that consistently too. Tessa looked up. Meaning? Meaning the company would also need to assign market value to services it received without invoices. Grant's fingers stopped on the page. Dana nodded to Tessa, who passed out her stack of reports. They were project histories, bid revisions, vendor negotiations, payroll corrections, insurance requests, change order logs. My initials appeared throughout them, not because I owned a hidden piece of the company or held some secret agreement. I appeared because, for years, Grant and Leon had sent me problems after dinner, and I had sent solutions back before breakfast. Tessa tapped the top report. I had our archive search the terms, Mara, can you? Mara, please check. And Mara, quick question. This is the summary, not the emails. Leon looked at the thickness of the packet. That search must have had a rough morning. Grant did not smile. I never asked to be paid for helping my husband, I said. That's exactly my point, he replied. You benefited from the company. And the company benefited from her, Tessa said. We need the accounting to stop pretending only one of those things happened. You're my partner. Yes. Then act like it. I am. Trenton nearly went out with an 11% material error because work we considered automatic had never been assigned to an employee. Leon placed his peppermint on the table. We built a process around asking your wife for favors. A few estimates, Grant said. Tessa flipped to the final page. 412 documented requests in 3 years. Lorraine shifted in her chair. This meeting is supposed to be about household money. Dana opened the second box. Then we'll stay with household money. She displayed the original ledger on the screen. The 3 county payments appeared together. $6,842.17, $7,106.44, and $7,491.03. Lorraine looked away from the amounts. Dana traced each payment from invoice to authorization to the account from which it cleared. The first had been the favor I remembered. The second had been shortened to ER annual property obligation. The third had arrived in a payment batch as ER property reserve after Grant emailed the entry to Dana's assistant. Grant interrupted. Mara authorized all 3. Yes, Dana said. So she paid them willingly. I willingly paid the first, I said. You changed the description of the others. I abbreviated it. You hid your mother inside 2 initials. Lorraine picked up her key, then set it down again. You knew my full name. I didn't know your middle name. That isn't Grant's fault. No, Paula would have said. Want was different from fault. Dana put Grant's contribution summary beside the ledger. After those payments cleared, Grant requested that extended family support be excluded from the household contribution analysis. I explained why, he said. You said it was discretionary and unrelated to household support. It was. Then it cannot also be evidence that Mara depended on you. You can exclude the expense, or you can exclude the income used to pay it. You cannot keep her deposit on one side of the equation, remove where it went on the other, and call the difference support you provided. The first payment glowed on the conference room screen under my name. It had been embarrassing at dinner, almost indecent to see private money exposed beside cold chicken and half-filled wine glasses. Here, connected to every record around it, the same line looked different. It was not proof that I had been foolish to help. It was proof that help had been taken, renamed, and then used to erase me. Grant turned to Dana. You work for my company. I work for the company, your household, and Mara's consulting practice under separate engagements. Not after today. Dana closed the ledger. That's your decision. Lorraine touched his arm. Grant, let's go. He pulled away from her. Not yet. He looked at me. What do you want? It was the first time he had asked that without first deciding which answers were reasonable. I want my income kept separate. I want the tax payments accounted for in our separation. I want my name off any advance for your mother's expenses. I want the contractor's key returned, and I'm done working for the company without an agreement. You're talking like the marriage is over. You locked me out of the company and borrowed against our house because I stopped giving you my money on demand. You started this. You planned a dinner. Lorraine's chair moved sharply. Because you refused to help me. I looked at her. I paid your taxes. You paid them from a marital account. From income you called grants when it suited you. I never asked you to make yourself miserable over it. You didn't have to ask me for anything. You asked him, and he made sure I handled it. Her expression flickered. Grant rose and walked to the window. Beyond the glass, the office moved around us, phones ringing, a printer starting, someone laughing near the supply cabinet. The company did not know that the person at the window had spent years making generosity look effortless. She gave me the money for the first truck, he said. We know, Leon replied. Grant turned. Do you know what it's like to need your mother to empty a certificate of deposit because every bank says you're a risk? Lorraine's eyes filled. This was the story they had been living inside. The mother who believed, the son who repaid belief with permanent protection. I paid her back, he said, but there shouldn't be a day in her life when she has to wonder whether I'll take care of her. I understood the desire. I even understood why admitting limits felt like betrayal to him. What did that require from me? I asked. He looked at the packets instead of my face. You needed to be generous, I said, so you made me the person she could take from. Then you called me dependent, so I couldn't say no. Lorraine whispered his name. He sat down slowly. If we separate the accounts, Mom can't carry the repairs and the taxes at the same time. The county offered a payment plan, I said. That's humiliating. She watched you humiliate your wife over dinner, Tessa said. A monthly invoice should be survivable. Grant stared at her. Leon finally ate his peppermint. We also need to discuss the company. Not today. Today, Tessa said. We hire an operations manager or we stop bidding at the current volume. Mara can submit a proposal if she wants the work, but she doesn't owe us one. I don't want it, I said. That surprised Grant more than the records had. He had expected money, recognition, maybe an apology he could negotiate down to a misunderstanding. He had not expected me to remove myself from the machinery. The meeting ended with no grand settlement. Dana had documented what happened, not repaired it. Tessa and Leon remained Grant's partners. Lorraine still had a torn-up bathroom. Grant and I still owned a house and a debt line together. But when Lorraine stood, she left the blue-capped key on the table. "Your contractor has the other copy," I said. "I'll get it." Grant gathered his papers. "Mom, you don't have to." "Yes," she said so quietly that he stopped. Paula arrived at our house that evening with empty storage bins. Lorraine moved into her downstairs den after all. She complained about the 6 steps to the bathroom, the weak water pressure, and Paula's habit of serving dinner before 6. She also returned the contractor's key in an envelope with my name on it. Her adjustable bed stayed in our living room until the bathroom work was complete. The furniture company charged another delivery fee. Grant paid it from his individual account. The separation did not feel clean. Clean things do not require appraisals, insurance forms, passwords, and arguments about who bought the dining chairs. I paid for my own health plan at a rate that made me swear aloud in Dana's office. 2 company clients contacted me in anger because they believed I had abandoned their projects. One apologized after Tessa explained. The other did not. Grant hired an operations manager and then reduced the position to part-time when the company could not maintain its old bidding volume without cutting distributions. Leon and Tessa stayed. They insisted on written responsibilities, recorded approvals, and a consulting budget. Grant called it bureaucracy until the first month closed without an emergency. His business survived. It became smaller and more honest about how many people it took to run. Lorraine entered the county payment plan to cover the bathroom overruns and the lease Grant could no longer subsidize. She sold her silver SUV and bought a used sedan that lacked heated seats. She spoke of this as if she had crossed a mountain barefoot, but she made every tax payment on time. During mediation, Grant tried once more to offer me our old life. "We could sell the house later," he said in the hall outside the conference room. "Mom won't have a key. The accounts can stay separate for a while." "For a while? We don't have to make permanent decisions while we're angry. I'm not angry right now." That unsettled him. "What if I apologize?" he asked. "For the dinner? For all of it?" I studied the face I had loved through cheap apartments, failed bids, long drives, and midnight coffee. Part of me wanted the apology badly enough to invent the man who might deliver it. "What would change?" I asked. He took too long. The tax payments and the home equity advance were credited to his side of the settlement. His marital share of the company was appraised, argued over, and eventually offset against other assets and a modest series of payments to me. The amount did not transform my life. It gave me enough room to leave without financing his version of our history. We sold the glass-fronted house in early spring. On the final morning, Grant stood in the empty hall holding the green bowl. A pale scratch curved across its bottom where Lorraine's copied key had rested. "You should take this," he said. I did. My new apartment had plain walls, uneven cabinet doors, and windows that caught the afternoon sun. Dana referred 3 clients to me. Paula sent a 4th, along with a note that said only, "She pays on time." Lorraine never contacted me. I unpacked the green bowl last. For years, its cheerful glass had held spare keys, loose change, Grant's cufflinks, and permissions I had never realized could be copied. I set it on the narrow table beside my door and dropped in 1 key. The sound was small, clear, and entirely mine.